and welcome to today's webinar on coding in the classroom and after school. My name is Mary Carnahan, and I am the eLearning Resource Specialist with the Department of Education, the Office of eLearning, and I'm excited to host this webinar today as part of Computer Science Week and Hour of Code. Hopefully you all are already excited about that week and have some stuff going on, but if you don't, hopefully you'll pick something up today that you can use either this week or going on in the future with your students in your classrooms. So we will get started with the topic in just a few minutes, but I first want to start with some housekeeping stuff. Hopefully by now you all have opened up the chat box. If you haven't, there should be an icon toward the bottom of your screen that's a little chat bubble, a little word bubble. Click on that and that should open up the chat box. Use that throughout the call today to ask questions of our presenters and also share any ideas that you might have to share with others. When you use that chat box, you'll need to select everyone from the to line, from that to drop down. It defaults to just send the messages to me, and we want to make sure that everybody is seeing the messages that you share there in the chat box. So make sure you do that. If you've already shared something, an introduction there, and set it to just me, you can send that again to everyone. You can just copy it out and post it again. But we have the lines muted. Please keep your line muted throughout the call. That way there won't be any distracting background noise as we go on. Also, we don't use webcam video, so if you have your webcam on, you can turn that off. Also, if that box is open at the top of your screen and is annoying to you with all the different boxes of maybe the people who have talked recently, you can click on the down arrow that's in the top left corner of that box and it will minimize it. So that it's not taking some of your screen away. I am recording the webinar today, so if you missed something or if there's something you want to hear again or if you have to leave for some reason, I am recording this. I typically have it posted the following week, so it should be online next week on our YouTube channel, along with all of our other past webinar videos. So this webinar is part of our professional development opportunities that we have in the Office of eLearning. We do webinars once or twice a month. Next, this is the last one for this calendar year, but we are already thinking about our webinars for next semester, next year. So we have two that are we're getting scheduled. We're working on all the details, and those are going to be on one is going to be on HyperDocs, and the other one is going to be on accessibility in your online teaching and your online offerings. So those will both be in February. The dates and the descriptions and registration information will be coming soon to that. So watch for those details on our website and on our Twitter feed. And speaking of Twitter, we are on Twitter at eLearn, but we also encourage you to utilize the eLearn hashtag daily as you're using Twitter for your professional development and just connecting with others in the field. And we have Twitter chats every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, and those are just a great way to connect with others in the eLearn community. This week's chat, the topic is the gift of coding, and the moderators are Pam O'Risky and Diane Gill. Again, continuing with the Computer Science Education Week and Hour of Code. We're excited to continue on with those topics. And another professional development opportunity that we have are our book clubs. We do 3 a year. We just finished up one, but we're already thinking about our next one, which is going to be starting in February 4th to be exact. and we are going to be reading Dive into Inquiry, as you can see on your screen. So that is just a great way to get professional development. It's anytime, anywhere professional development. We typically read a chapter a week. This book has short chapters, so we'll probably be reading about 2 chapters a week. Every Monday in our book club blog, I post a question or something to think about, something to discuss, a discussion prompt, and then we encourage you all to have a conversation around that topic. And that book club will be worth up to 14 PGPs. You get 2 PGPs for each week that you participate. So if you are interested in that, check out the eLearning Book Club blog to get more information and the link to register for that. And so now I want to move into our topic for the day. I wanted to share this information first. This came from Jake Carussell, who is our computer science specialist with the Department of Education. Unfortunately, he is finishing up a conference today, so he was not able to join us, but he wanted to share this information about Indiana's computer science community. So if you are not a part of that yet, check out the website, cs4in.org, to get more information on being a part of this community and what you can get from it and also what you can give to it. So check that out. And if you have any questions, I can share. Actually, there's also the Facebook page and the Twitter handle there. So you should be able to get lots of information from those places, and hopefully you'll find that community beneficial as you're working in the computer science area of education. So now I want to move on to our presenters today. We've got 3 presenters with us, kind of looking at coding from a couple of different viewpoints. So we've got Michael O'Connell, and he does after-school coding clubs. So he's going to be talking about that. Brandy Hicks teaches coding during the school day, so she'll be looking at it from that angle. And then our last presenter is Simon Goldman, and she is with Girls Who Code. So she's going to be talking to us about opportunities available through Girls Who Code. So I am going to turn it over to Michael. And I didn't get to say that Michael is actually joining us from his after-school coding club. So that would be the kids in the background, which is very cool.
Yes, we're having our last coding club meeting here at Benford Elementary today, and so I'm going to try and be brief, and I'm happy to answer questions with follow-up if you want to contact me, but I hope I can provide some benefit and insight between the slides and a quick conversation.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to turn it on to you. Just let me know when you need me to move on to the slides.
Okay. I'll be with you in a minute. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So just so you know, I'm teaching at 3 different public schools after school and before school. And my objective today was just to share a little bit about why I'm doing it, why I think it's important, and a couple of tips. So next slide, please. Just a little background about me. I used to work with professionals, helping them code and helping them work with technology, first with the publishing company, Java programmers, and then with IBM doing their developer website. And now I'm focused on kids. Next slide, please.
Can I get a robot?
And now, if you think about that question, elementary students, some people maybe start older, but I think it's important if you could move on. I'll try and outline a couple of the reasons I think teaching students at this age is so beneficial. So next slide, please. I think this quote from the CEO of Code.org sums it up, and the main point there bolded is about the fact that first graders are already learning a lot of other things, navigating, using all sorts of digital devices. There's no reason we can't start having them create things instead of just consume, and creating means ultimately at the core I think it means coding in some fashion. Next slide, please. And this slide outlines some of the more details about the benefits that helps create innovation for society as well as for individuals. It helps the kids be creative, again, creating instead of just consuming or using technology. It helps them build confidence when they overcome bugs, they get through puzzles, they solve problems, and the persistence that goes with that is part of the benefit too. And then just like other languages, I think coding is a language of sorts, and it's a lot easier, in my experience, to learn languages when you're young than when you're getting older. And then finally, it translates into broader success. So coding involves logic, it involves some of those other broader soft skills. It's not just a technology skill. So it really is a rewarding thing to learn, and it really helps when you can learn it early on, and it benefits all your studies as well as your life and career. Next slide, please. This slide has a link to a nice video that also talks about how computational thinking permeates a lot of what we're doing, and increasingly is foundational to being effective and successful in society. So I encourage folks to take a look at that video if you get a chance. Next slide, please. Let me walk you through a little bit about what I do with the coding club that I lead. Next slide, please. So typically, I just want to get through a couple of new concepts each week with the kids. And so I'll put up a couple of concepts and to see if anyone knows what they are, talk about definitions. Then we'll also talk about how it relates to the real world. For example, an algorithm is just a series of steps that accomplish a task. So we'll talk about how there's an algorithm for getting to school in the morning or brushing your teeth. Then we'll do some activities with code.org. We might do something in Scratch or do some other things I'll show you in a minute. And then finally, I'll try and talk about something they can look forward to next week. So next slide, please. And my coding clubs run about an hour for the most part. So these are just some of the terms, basic terms that I think are important, and that we cover some of those. But if you go to the next slide, you'll see some more code-centric and tangible concepts. Just again, this is more detail about how I walk through each item. A bit redundant, I apologize. I think it's important to point out, though, those last 2 points is if you get them to understand the concept from discussion and then you move on to a structured activity, it makes it easier to reinforce it. And then hopefully you have time for adding an unstructured activity where they can be more creative and apply some more free application of that concept. That seems to work really well and helps them retain it better in my experience. Next slide. So those are a few of the concepts that we cover at the beginning: algorithm, program, sequence, loops is another one. Next slide, please. And I'll just walk through, just show you a couple of slides that I might use. So I might actually just present some slides up front and lead a discussion to start with. So that's an example of one of those. And just try and get them to talk about that, and then talk about how it relates to real world, non-technology, again, like brushing teeth, getting to school, things like that, tying shoe. Next slide, please. So I think it helps a lot if you can apply some analogies outside of technology to help them better grasp things. Sequence is another one, and there you can see we use dance as another example, but sequence could be applied for a recipe. It can be applied with music and the order of the notes, and the sequence is important sometimes. Maybe in some cases, like the next slide or two will show, like making a paper airplane. Next slide, please. The sequence may not be as important. One more slide, please. So some of these materials are, like this one is from code.org. I think they have a lot of good resources, especially that you can snag a couple of images from for charts if you want to use charts, and then they have some good activities. Next slide, please. You can see that brushing teeth, there's an important sequence there. The airplane, there may be more than one sequence that works. So that's just an example of how I walk through it. Next slide, please. So then we would do an activity with code.org for any given technology. So those are a couple things. One thing that we did this year was Halloween. There was a Halloween-themed hour of code, and they had some good stuff that involved art drawing, and it gave another way to incorporate both the concepts and a theme that tied into a holiday. So look for opportunities like that as well. Next slide. So another thing that I've done is I found after trial and error that Khan Academy is a great resource in particular for having kids try doing some basic HTML. And the thing that they like about that is they can see a real tangible and immediate result of their code and learn just a few things. So the beauty of this editor on Khan Academy, and there are some others like the HTMLG.com editor, is that the kids can type code on one side of the window and then see dynamically, real time, the actual effect of how it changes the web page and the other half of the screen. The other thing that I've done is help some of the kids who are more ambitious actually take their HTML file and get it published on a real web server. And some of them got a kick out of that. And if somebody's interested in trying to get more details on how I've helped them do that, feel free to reach out. Next slide, please. Another thing I wanted to emphasize is I know for my kids, as well as many parents, there's a legitimate concern about too much screen time and how it's dominating. So I try to incorporate not only just shut off the screens when I'm talking up front, but I also try to make sure that they're doing some things on paper or with other physical activities outside of the screen. So there's some examples. The robots, we got kids doing some cup activity right now where one child is a human robot and the other child is programming with paper and pencil, so you don't need technology. That's good when the computers go down. Hold on one second. Why don't you just go hang out at the office then if you want. Thank you. Sorry about that. And second thing, the bracelets is something that kids enjoy, the binary bracelets. And I'm sorry, hold on. You're done?
Can I do this in the hallway?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that. So the binary bracelets, first semester I did that on paper, but I think that if you bother to spend a little bit of money on some bulk beads and threads, they get a lot more engaged with it because it's a much more tangible and thing that they look forward to having the longer term. I'm sorry, I need to wait 5 minutes. I'll be done and then I'll get with you, okay? And then the other thing I have here, if you haven't yet seen that make a sandwich activity, I think that's risky in the computer lab with the product and the food, and some schools might not permit it, but if you can do that, it's really engaging, and I think the kids get a kick out of that. Next slide, please. And this is another thing that kids are doing. In fact, some of them are doing right now is the Coder MIP robot is similar to the coding environment that you use on code.org or Scratch. It's block, drag, and drop programming with very similar commands. But instead of controlling something on the screen, you're controlling a physical robot, getting it to move when you clap, move it. You could change colors, make different sounds, or you can do all sorts of motions with it as well. So I found that they enjoy that a lot, and again, it's a really concrete and tangible way to see the impact of the code that they're creating or writing. Next slide, please. And again, there's a video. I don't know if that comes through on the PDF, but if you want to find that and it's not working, let me know. Here are a few other suggestions based on a few years I've been doing this, other than the mix of unplugged activities that we kind of talked about. That I would encourage you to do some pair programming and also some group activities. One of the other things that I think is worthwhile is giving them a chance to practice working together and teamwork, and they'll get experience in other venues with that. And some of the kids may be reluctant to do it, but I think to the extent you can reinforce that idea of working together as well as helping each other out. Those are two other good skills, and a coding club is a good place to practice and grow those skills. Also, if you're like me and you don't have lots of other people helping you out, then sometimes it's good to rely on students to help each other instead of be the only person who can help 20-some or 30 students at once. And the last point is just a point about knowing you don't always have the answers. I certainly don't, and being willing to admit that and work together to solve a problem. I think the kids appreciate that if you go about it that way. Next slide, please. And I think that's all I got for you today. I'd be happy to get on another discussion with anyone who's interested in the future, or do something when I'm a little less distracted by the coding club simultaneously happening here. But I appreciate the opportunity to share and appreciate that we're trying to help each other and do a better job educating the kids.
Thanks a lot, Michael, and thank you for taking a few minutes out of your coding club. It's cool to hear it in action. So thank you, and we'll let you get back to it, and your email address is there for people who would like to contact you off this call.
Great. Thanks so much, Mary. Appreciate your patience with the connection.
Sure thing.
Take care.
Bye-bye. And so next we have Brandy Hicks, who is connecting with us from Milan Community School Corporation, and she's going to talk about teaching coding during the school day.
All right. Well, hello.
Hi, Brandy. Thanks.
So I'm going to put in a disclaimer. I loved hearing how Michael had so much experience in industry. I have none, but I'm going to go through that process, and I have been actively teaching computer science for 2 years now in the classroom. And prior, I was a elementary teacher, and I also middle school and taught some high school. All right, next slide.
Brandy, before you get started, are you on speakerphone?
I am not.
Or you're on a headset, aren't you?
I am.
Okay.
Is it not loud enough?
Well, I'll let others. Somebody had said that they could barely hear you. I was having a hard time, but it sounded better when we finished, so why don't you go ahead and try again, and we'll see.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll reintroduce myself then and see if we can hear me. I'm Brandy Hicks, and I wanted to give a little disclaimer. Michael was from industry, which I think is fantastic. Is that any better? Can they hear me?
I can hear you. I am on a phone hearing you. Oh, okay. I hear one person said it's better. Better.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead. Keep going.
All
You're
right.
good.
Fantastic. So I'm coming in with an education background. I've been teaching computer science in the classroom for the last 2 years. I actually started in elementary just as a 3rd and 5th grade teacher, and then I've taught some middle school math, and now I work with students in computer science 5 through 12. Next slide. All right, so I'm just going to go through our trajectory and our computer science pathway here at Milan. Next slide. So we started in a one-to-one learning environment. It's going on 5 years now, and we started with no computer science at all. And our first course that we offered was a help desk option for our Tech Tribe students, and that is at the top, and we still have that. That is our kind of elite program. It's grades 7 through 12. Then we now have grade 6 starting this year, a year-long elective in a computer science discoveries course. We have 7th and 8th grade rotational classes that are 9 weeks in computer science, and that is all students. And then we have currently an introduction to computer science in high school, one course preferred for freshmen. And we have a partnership with Ivy Tech where our students starting their junior year can go and take some courses for an associate's degree, I believe, at Ivy Tech. So we currently have our first student starting that this year. Next year we're hoping to have AP Computer Science in grades 10 and higher. Next slide. Okay, so I said we started with our Tech Tribe, and this is where we started, and it's our student digital leaders, and this is where I started learning about computer science based upon the students' interests. So this would have began 5 years ago. Next slide. And there's their driving questions and kind of trying to get us in a mission of helping the greater good. Next slide. Okay, and here's our syllabus as we go through this. So the expectations is that our goal is to create that this is a course that students must take their high school computer science course to be a part of this, so they wouldn't start till they're in their sophomore year. We're not there yet, so you're going to learn about our vision, how we're continuing to grow. They're also part of Who's Your Student Digital Leaders. Great program that the DOE sponsors if you're not a part of that. Next slide. Okay, so with this group, we at Milan did not have a focus program in our elementary. Our teachers, just like myself, I was an elementary teacher and I did not have a strong background in computer science. So what we've done with our Tech Tribe class, the students, they all have community projects included in this class. So they actually go out and they teach and co-teach lessons in the elementary. This will be our third year moving along in this process. We started with recess clubs where the Tech Tribe members actually taught programming using code.org in the elementary with 4th and 5th graders, and now we are going all the way down to kindergarten as we make that projection. Michael talked about a lesson with code.org, which was my robotic friend, and now you can see it in action. My high school student teaching my elementary students how to go through this. So this is an unplugged lesson. So the students, the high school students are actually mentors for the elementary, which I've found gets the elementary students much more interested in pursuing these computer science focused lessons. Next slide. Here you see them also working with the dash and dot robot over here where they're doing some more hands-on coding. And then over here they're actually using a Scratch-based. And then I have a larger group of students that go in and they work in the classrooms doing lessons also. And at the very top you see them doing that unplugged code.org lesson that Michael was also talking about where they're creating their binary bracelets. So the same programs he was talking about, the same here, but the difference is we're establishing it with our students going in and co-teaching and teaching in the elementary. Next slide. Part of that community-based assignments that go along with that Tech Tribe class is that they pick one. Another program that some of them working with, 3 of them are working with, is our robotics program. And you can see them here. They're just doing some unplugged activities using the mice. I think they're called the Mice and Go robots. And they're working through those algorithms. And then also they assist with our robotics club. Next slide. And lastly, I mentioned the Who's Your Student Digital Leaders. So it's been a big push for us to make sure that our students are well-rounded, although they are focused in computer science or technology, but they're also strong communicators. So part of that is they outreach into our community. You can see here they're doing a Tech Up the Community, working with our local library, working with people that come in with tech issues, and then they were presenting at the HEC conference here, and then they were doing a Who's Your Student Digital Leadership program where they presented there. So it was important that we also put that focus in, that communication piece and the leadership. Next slide. Okay, so here's our progressive build. We've had computer science now in our schools being taught for the last 2 years, but we've been introducing it and bringing it into the elementary by our Tech Tribe students and myself for the last 3 years primarily. Just this year we established a year-long elective, and that's where students can make the choice to take a computer science class. And then I talked about the 7th and 8th grade students where all students are placed with the option of, not the option, but they come in the rotational class. And then we have the high school introduction to computer science. That is currently the trajectory that we have right now at Milan. Next slide. Okay. So as starting this, what has been realized is that our students here at Milan did not have a strong elementary background to to accomplish the course loads that I was looking at. So because of this, created a plan, a 3-year plan of getting them ready so that they are successful by the time they are in high school. So we started this year with our 6th grade students with code.org. We're using courses E and F. All students are learning to type, and we do digital citizenship and a growth mindset in that classroom. The goal next year is that we're looking at possibly a rotational for 6th grade, and we would push them into using code.org's Express course, lessons 1 through 22. And then the following year, moving them forward into being able to do the Computer Science Discoveries program, which is actually the middle school course. So the course E and F that we're working on right now has plugged and unplugged activities, but it is primarily for 4th and 5th graders, but we don't have that background yet to be secure in it. Next slide. All right, so when we came through, a lot of teachers that I work with talk about how they have to teach typing even into their program and their rotationals and programming classes. So I don't actually teach typing, but what I do is I have my students do beta testing. That's what I call it, because it's what it's called if we're testing programs. So they go through and they test out on different websites that they're working on, and they learn how important it is to make a review and thoroughly looking at websites and seeing how websites work. What else you're seeing here is you're seeing them right on their desks in an activity that is an unplugged activity that they're going through, and they're actually writing the program, and they are going to program that. Over here, that's one of our projection screens that you notice in the center where they're doing their code.org activity. And then once again, you're going to see we use those Code and Go mice. They're not very expensive. I like them a lot. And they follow algorithms very well. So the kids actually, I purchased the ones that have the cards and the little missions that are included in them. Next slide. All right, so looking at 7th grade, so we're having unplugged and plugged curriculum also here, and this year our goal is that continued that growth mindset, but because our students didn't have that background, they hadn't taken a course before or had a real thorough understanding of computer science as they're coming in, or even that growth mindset. I started them this year in the code.org Express course, and the goal is to make it through lessons 1 through 22. Next year, the 7th grade will do the same, and then the following year, they will actually finish up that entire course, the end part of that course, so that by the time they're in 8th grade, they're taking that Computer Science Discoveries. Next slide. And here they are. So you see some of those. Michael talked about that unplugged activity that they were doing with the algorithms in the airplanes. Well, you can see those in motion here, these images that are given right here. And then they're actually doing another one, My Loopy Friend, which comes from code.org. And then you can see how we have paired programming going on over here on the projection screens. And then towards the bottom, we have another unplugged activity with a tower building. And it's important. I find that it's more important that I do the unplugged activities to build that foundation than the plugged activities. In actuality, some of my students had experience with the plugged activities previously, but they didn't understand the foundational concepts like conditional, loops, sequencing, event triggers, algorithm, program. They didn't understand what they were, so they have these gaps. So we're doing a lot of unplugged activities to build upon those gaps and then move forward with a lot of grit with the plugged activities. Next slide. All right, so we move into the 8th grade. And our 8th grade, we are working with the same curriculum that my 7th grade is this year, and it's the code.org Express course, lessons 1 through 22, in that growth mindset also. And then next year, they'll do the 23 through 44 lessons. But that ends with a capstone project, which I think is very important, that you build in those real life examples and those projects so kids can feel ownership in what they're doing and that there is a purpose in the programming. A lot of especially my girls, don't want to do it just, they look at it as a game, but they really want to make build a better world in different ways. So this project has that built into it. And then the following year, they'll be moving into the computer science discoveries in 8th grade. But built this trajectory because of the skills that they did not have yet. So next slide. All right, so this is the high school, and our high school curriculum is doing the computer science discoveries, which is currently set for grades 6 through 9, but I have a class that's I have all the way up to seniors in my class because this is the only course that's as an option right now as an elective here at Milan. So I have kids just streaming in that really want to take it, but we have a gap because some students have no experience and some students have been in my tech tribe for years and they have a strong foundation. So we've been doing a lot of unplugged activities and such that we're also using Khan Academy to support that process. In the following year, next year, we're going to offer computer science principles, and then we're going to do a rotation. Then the year after that, probably computer science discoveries again. And this will become a prerequisite course for the students to come into my Milan Tech Tribe because our Tech Tribe students actually go in and teach and co-teach with our elementary. So they need a strong foundation in computer science programming to be able to work with the students in the elementary. Next slide. Next slide. Can you hear me?
Yes. Are the slides not advancing?
No, it's not.
I'm looking at the one that says every accomplishment starts with the decision to try now. Oh,
Okay.
technology issues maybe.
Gotcha. Okay.
Has it caught up?
It is now at every accomplishment starts with the
Okay.
decision to try.
Are you good there, or do you need me to move back?
Go back one. Okay, so this right here, these are the high school students, and you can see that they have those paired programming projection screens that we have there. They also work with some robots. We have the Ozobot and the Dash and Dot, and they go back and work with the younger kids with those. Recently, we brought in some VR into it as we worked with CoSpaces, trying to create a virtual reality program. Next slide. And here's where we started. Every accomplishment starts with the decision to try. So our program, we're in a rural market with not a lot of industry available people or teachers that have strong computer science background. So what we did was we created a pathway that works for us. And that pathway had to start with that decision to try. So we haven't quit. We haven't stopped. We're moving forward, but our elementary has our older students going right in and being part of the process, working with our teachers. That's been foundational as we've built upon this. So we're just currently working on that foundation. Next slide. Any questions? You are more than welcome to reach out to me anytime, and if you have any questions in the chat box, I will answer.
Thank you so much, Brandy. You guys have so many cool things going on in Milan. It's great. I'm grateful to you for taking the time to share with us what y'all are doing. And so next, we're going to move on to Hannah, who's going to talk about Girls Who Code.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here to tell you all about Girls Who Code because we do have a partnership this year with the Department of Education here in Indiana. So we're really excited to talk more about that partnership, get more folks involved, and get going. Next slide, please. So that's me. So I work in Indiana connecting schools and libraries and community centers and all sorts of nonprofits with Girls Who Code's free programs. So the partnership with the Indiana Department of Education has been great so far. We almost have 100 clubs just through that partnership, which is awesome, and way more than we've had in years past. So we're really excited to be working with them and excited to be here. And let me know at any point if the volume is too low or anything like that as well. So I'm going to cover a lot of ground in a few minutes, but I'm excited to share more with you. Next slide. Great. So what we know, you're here because you know that computing is a big deal now, right? It's a really important skill to learn. It's one of the fastest growing job markets. It's one of the best paying, job markets right now here in the United States. But right now, less than 25% of computing jobs are held by women. That is not nearly enough. And if we don't address it, that percentage is actually set to go down in future years and not up. So here at Girls Who Code, we said, okay, let's do it. Let's show girls that this is somewhere where they belong. Next slide, please. Great. So we were founded to try to reach gender parity in computing. So we want to give girls the space to explore computer science, to get comfortable, to get confident in their skills, and the fact that they can belong there, that they can do this, that they can pursue this and take advantage of 21st century opportunities after they leave school. I'll do a quick shout out. I saw that Jill Henry from St. Richard's is here. She has a Girls Who Code club, which is great. And that Brandy at Milan actually also has some students in the elementary and middle school doing clubs. So excited to have you guys here as well. Next slide. Great. So there's three sort of main pillars of the Girls Who Code philosophy and how we went about designing our club. The first pillar is the computer science, and it's not just coding. It's definitely coding. It's learning those foundational concepts, right? They're going to learn about loops and conditionals and variables and functions, what we call our core 4 concepts. But they're also going to learn about computational thinking, which Michael mentioned at the beginning. They're going to be collaborating with each other. They're going to be problem solving. They're going to be practicing all of these skills that are going to be really important for their long-term success. The second piece is sisterhood and collaboration. So that is, at Girls Who Code, one of our main goals. So we want to make sure that girls see, oh, hey, all of my friends are doing coding. It is a cool thing to be doing, that they have peers who are doing it, and all across the country they have a network of Girls Who Code. They also will have role models. Every club includes a Women in Tech spotlight, so they'll be seeing really cool examples of women in all sorts of different fields who are using coding to open doors for them. So fashion and science and education and public health, whatever it is they're into, coding can help get them there, right? So that's a really important piece as well. And then the real world relevance and impact is connected to that too. And like Brandy said, we don't want to just say coding is something you should learn. We want to say, hey, coding can be a really powerful problem-solving tool to do something you already care about, right? So I'll talk more about that, but the girls really are connecting it to things they're doing and building projects that matter to them. So I'm excited that Ted is excited about that, and we'll love to connect with you after. Next slide, please. Great. So our clubs program. I'm going to give you a quick general overview of what you need to get started here with clubs. The first thing is that our clubs are entirely free. We put it in capital letters because we need you to know that we mean it. You don't have to pay for anything. We provide the curriculum, the full curriculum, so activity sets and tutorials, customizable lesson plans, outreach materials, training for facilitators, ongoing support, those Women in Tech spotlights, T-shirts. We provide all of this to you at no cost because we just want you to get these opportunities to your kids. The thing you do have to provide is the facilitator. So that can be any adult in the community. So it can be a teacher or staff member, but it can also be a parent, retired English teacher, local college student, any adult. And the other great thing is that they can be beginners in computer science also. Like Brandy said, in a lot of places, you're not going to have, techies or people who think of themselves that way or people who have industry experience, but you want to give these opportunities to the kids. I actually love it when beginners facilitate clubs because they can be really great role models for the girls, right? They can say, yeah, you know what? I might not know all the answers. I might make mistakes, but I can try new things. I can mess up. You guys can help me. We can help each other. And that the girls can see, okay, if I make a mistake, no one's going to laugh at me. We're just going to, we'll be able to figure it out. So facilitators can come from any background and make awesome facilitators for these clubs. We have two different program models that I'm going to talk briefly about. We have our 3rd through 5th grade model and our 6th through 12th grade model. So I'll go into those, but I'll also say these are our recommendations. So we have a lot of schools, for example, that maybe they're K through 6. They look at both curricula and they figure out which one works best for their students, and we're fine with that. But these are our best guesses as to which model will work best for which grades. Next slide, please. Great. So just really briefly to compare the different club models, our 3rd through 5th grade clubs are all about getting girls excited about computing and creating at a younger age and seeing themselves as part of that community. So they meet for maybe about 10 meetings a school year for about 45 minutes to an hour. So that might happen during school. It might happen after school, whenever, you know your students better than we do, right? Like I said, so whenever works for your students works for us. The 3rd through 5th grade clubs use our nonfiction book, Learn to Code and Change the World. That's the cover right there. We send those for free to you based on enrollment. So they will be learning about really cool role models. They'll be learning computing concepts, and they'll be doing Girls Who Code challenges. So those are the hands-on activity part of the club. And those can be unplugged or they can be plugged in. So as both of the presenters have said, right, these unplugged activities it might seem a little weird to be doing an unplugged activity for computer science, but it really can be really effective and get them really engaged. So there is an option to do it entirely offline if that's an issue for you, or if someone took the computer lab that day. You can do 3rd through 5th grade clubs entirely offline. The 6th through 12th grade clubs are web-based, so you will need computers for those. So they are based entirely on our online platform, Girls Who Code HQ. So they are all about using computer science to change their community for the better. So as they're learning how to build a website or a game or an app, they will have brainstormed and they'll be working together to build a project. So each club will be collaborating on a project each week that they meet. And that, can be anything. It can be, we have one group who created a website to track water usage and give you strategies to reduce your water usage because they cared about the environment. We had a group who were members of a Native American tribe who made a language translator app, which was amazing. Anything it is that your girls are interested in, this is where they get to say, great, coding gives me the power to do something really cool and really important with it. So that's a really great part of those older clubs as well. These clubs meet for a minimum of 10 meetings. We hope maybe 15 or more, but we do have a condensed version offered too, and those might meet for an hour or two per week. And those mostly do happen after school since it's a longer time commitment. Next slide. Great. Impact-wise, so at the end of this year, we will have reached over 90,000 girls across the country, all 50 states and some U.S. territories. To put that number in perspective, every year, only about 10,000 women graduate with computer science degrees here in the United States. So we are so excited to see, as these girls age up, where they end up and how they continue on in computer science. We do have right now about 5,000 college-age alumni, and they're majoring in computer science and related fields, 15 times the national average for women here in the United States. Another big thing about Girls Who Code is about half of our students are from underrepresented groups, even more than women in tech, but low-income women and Black and Latinx women as well, and they are choosing to major at 16 times the national average. So we really are seeing some great results that the girls really are feeling empowered with their knowledge and with their communities to stick with it and to make careers out of coding. Next slide. I'll just share a little bit about what you need if you want to start your own club. You basically just need 3 things. space at a nonprofit, so your school, that's great, but it could also be a library, community center, anywhere, that has open space. The next thing there, if you're doing a 3rd through 5th grade club, you need books, which we will send to you. And if you're doing the older club, you need the computers and internet connection. Those can be any kind of computers, Chromebooks, laptops, desktops. It's all good. There's nothing to download, no specific requirements there. And then that last thing you need is the facilitator. So I will very briefly, next slide, please, talk about how we support facilitators, because especially if you are new to computer science, it can be a little daunting to say, oh, I'm in charge now. So we have spent a lot of time working to make sure you have all the support you need. So this is a list. I'll just pull out a couple of things there. All of our facilitators do an online training to get you ready for day one. Our online platform that I mentioned, Girls Who Code HQ, has the curriculum, so it has the lesson plans and the tutorials and teaching tips and icebreaker games and strategies and outreach materials, right? So everything you need for your club will be there available to you. You will also have a club success specialist, so a Girls Who Code staff member who's available all throughout the year while your club is running to help you out if you have questions about HQ or the curriculum or anything like that. And we also have the clubs fund. So in addition to being completely free, have I mentioned that enough? We also do offer grants of $300 to clubs. So if you want snacks for your club, right, and you don't have a budget from the school, if you want to bring in a speaker and give them a gift card to say thank you, if you want to go on a field trip and you need some transportation, we want to make sure you get there. So we offer those grants every semester that you have your club. All right, next slide. So that's sort of the general overview. I'm glad that Mary thinks the grant opportunity is awesome. We do too. We love for folks to take advantage of that. The other great thing is that as part of a partnership with the Indiana Department of Education, any club that you start at a public school here in the state is going to be part of that partnership and actually get access potentially to an extra $100 of grant funding on top of that $300. So we're really excited about that too. That's my email address that you will have. I hope that we connect after this and that you're able to take a look at our curriculum. I can send you some flyers and some more resources about how to get started. And with that, in all of 5 minutes, I will turn it back over to Mary. Thank you so much.
So really, it's better than free.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks so much, Hannah. That is such a cool opportunity. So hopefully if your school isn't already taking advantage of Girls That Code or Girls Who Code, hopefully you will look into that and connect with Hannah after this call and get a club started at your school. So thank you for that. And there have been no questions that have come up throughout the call, so I'll watch the chat box as I close up shop. But I mentioned in the chat box during the call that I am recording, and fingers crossed my little connection hiccup that happened while Brandy was presenting, hopefully that didn't mess up. It still shows that it's recording. So I should have that posted next week. If you go to our website to the eLearning webinar, eLearning Lab webinar section, there's a link to our YouTube channel and the playlist where we have all of the webinars that we've recorded are there. So not only would you get this one, but you can see what we've done over the past several years as far as webinars go. So lots of great information there. Also, I'm going to check with our presenters, but if it's okay with them, I will share this slideshow with everybody who is on the call today. I'll get your email addresses from my registration log and send you the link to the presentation. Also, I'll be sending out PGP certificates either tomorrow or Thursday, again, to all that have checked in today. It's a 1-hour webinar, so it'll be worth 1 PGP, so add that to your collection as you secure those for your next license renewal. So on this slide, we've got all sorts of different ways to connect with us. really, if you go to our website, you'll be able to get to all these different ways to connect with us. We're just trying to reach you all where you're at. So that information is there. And I just want to thank Michael and Brandy and Hannah for sharing some really great information today. And again, hopefully you all are excited about teaching coding. If you're not doing it already, hopefully you're walking away with some resources that you can use to get that started at your school, or if you already are teaching coding, just some new and different ways to teach it to your students and to work with your students on this, on coding. So with that, I will sign off for the night. Thank you all for participating, and we'll see you after the first of the year as we continue on with our e-learning lab series. Everybody have a great holiday and great holidays, and hope the end of the semester goes smoothly for you all. Thank you very much. Have a great night.